Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Adam. Here for class number 2 in our wheel and wall series. So things you'll need are a wheel, need your wall with free space or a locked door, whatever you used last time, and then your mat pulled up against the wall, right? So all those things, let's start rolling our backs. So come onto your bums, grab your wheel, place your wheel to about center of your spine. All right, high hands on either side, and then we'll slowly lift the hips. Start to roll back. Take a few breaths here. Let the chest open up. And then you can start to roll the wheel from the base of the spine to the top of the spine. And then back down again. We'll do that a few times. Take as much time as you need to. Be as slow as you want. If there's certain places you want to end up hanging out in, you can find those spots and just kind of camp out there for a few breaths. So typically with these type of classes, the Ujjayi breath is the breath that works best, so that strong, engaged inhale and exhale through the nose. And if you followed the class from the last time, it's good to know what your breath sounds like and feels like and the depth and things like that. When you're going into these deep poses, it's a good barometer as to the depth of the pose that you're in. It's about 10 more seconds here. So meaning if you're too deep into a pose and your breath usually regular could become irregular, it could become choppy. So good barometer of where you're at with your pose. All right, let's make our hips back down to the ground. Grab the front of the shins, slowly pull yourself forward. And then we'll wrap our hands around the front of the shins, chin to the chest, lengthen through the crown of the head. Get your spine as long as you can. Take a deep breath in. Big pull towards center on the exhale. All right, release the legs. Let's go up to a standing position. All right, so wheels off to the side. Going to move into a little over a minute of a standing back bend series. So this standing back bend is a warm-up for your back bend, and it's a good opportunity to play with the width of your feet and using different hand supports on the body to support yourself. Okay, so first one we're going to start with our hands to our lower back. So I'm going to turn around so you can kind of see where my hands are. I'm going to start with my feet hip distance apart, hands at the lower back. So little tuck of the hips to release any tension into your lower back, putting pressure into your glutes so you can push those hips forward. And then start to lift the gaze towards the ceiling. Open up the collarbones, let the head lift up. And then we'll take about 3 breaths here in this first back bend. So finding about 3 to 5 breaths in a deep pose is a good way to know that you're there. You made it there on purpose. You didn't just end up there and you're like, holy crap, I'm now in this deep back bend. One more breath. And slowly start to bring yourself back up. Arms released down by the sides. You can roll the shoulders out a couple times. I'm going to turn back around so you guys can see me from the front. All right, second set we're going to take. Feet can stay at that same width or maybe try to widen the stance, so kind of play around with how that feels. And now my hands are going to walk down to my hamstrings, so just below my glutes. Okay, so again, now I have a little bit more depth, so I can put pressure into my lower body to support myself. All right, so if that depth doesn't feel good for you, keep your hands at your lower back. All right, engage your core, lift up, lift the chest, drop the head back, and on your exhale, start to come back. And the hands can walk farther down the inner thighs, giving yourself a little bit more depth. But as you find more depth, press back into it and open up through the collarbones and find your back bend. Take 3 breaths. One more breath. And slowly walk your way back up. All right, bring the feet back together, rock out the shoulders, take a forward fold if you need to, release any tension in your lower back. All right, and the last variation we're going to play around with today is grabbing the front of the thighs. So again, using your body as support, okay? So I'm going to grab the front of my thighs, a little bend of the knees, and I'm going to hold on here, and this is my support to pull my chest through. All right, still tucking in the hips to lengthen the lower back, holding onto the front side of the thighs, lift the chest, take a breath. As we exhale, start to come back, holding onto the front side of the thighs, pulling the chest open. Maybe a little bend of the knees. We got our 3 breaths. And slowly rise up. Let's set the feet together. Let's inhale, sweep the arms high. And as you exhale, hands pull into heart center. We're going to find a very engaged core to help neutral out our spine. The navel pulls into the spine. Almost feel your navel pulling through your lower back. Nice, stay engaged. Take 2 more breaths here. One more round of breath. And release the core. Inhale, sweep the arms high. Take a soft bend of the knees. Forward fold all the way down. Nice, hands come to the mat. Separate the feet hip distance apart. And then bend the knees as much as you need to. Find a little sway side to side. So releasing some of that tension in our lower backs. All right, pause in center. Let's come down to your knees. Grab your wheel. We're going to place our wheel at the back of our mat towards the left side. I'm going to come into a lizard pose. Right foot forward, just to the outside of your right hand. Left foot is on top of the wheel. All right. So from here, hands underneath the shoulders. Find some movement side to side first. So waking up through the hips, waking up through the shoulders. All right, now we're going to come into center here and take this into a extended lizard pose. So press into the hands first, start to engage the core, and then we're going to lift the back knee and roll the wheel back. Now remember, you are on a wheel, so side-to-side movement might be a little precarious. All right, so once you found your stability, we're going to start to drop that left hip towards the ground. Now you can stay on the hands. If you have the ability to come down to your elbows, you can make your way there, but don't force it. Remember, this is still early on in our practice. So listen to the openness that your body starts with and have that goal to where you want to move towards. Now, once I've settled in, I'm going to start moving a little forward and back. So giving that left hip flexor a little bit more opportunity to drop towards the ground. Just about 3 more breaths here. Gently start to wake up that left side body. Last breath. All right, if you're moving, pause. Gently bring that left knee down. Come back up to the hands. And we're just going to switch sides. Bring the right knee back. Switch the wheel over to your right side. Right foot on top of the wheel. Left foot to the outside of your left hand. And then take some time here. Find that little sway side to side. So before we get into the hips, we start to lubricate the hips with that synovial fluid that our body naturally creates. We're just moving all that stuff around right now. All right, pause your movement. Now start to press into the hands. Feel the shoulders engage. And then we're going to lift the back knee into our active lizard pose. All right, now start to engage your right glute. Right hip starts to drop towards the ground. Take some time here. Find your breath. And then if you felt good about dropping the hip on the other side, maybe think about dropping that right hip on this side. So gently just moving that right hip down. Keeping the right glute engaged as you start to rock that right hip down. Take a few more breaths here. Movement or not, it's all up to you. Nice, 2 more breaths. All right, pause your movement. Release the right knee to the ground. Bring the left knee back next to the right knee. Slide the wheel off to the side. Just sit on your bums. Shake the leg side to side, just a little rocking. So we're getting into the hip flexors pretty deep today. So that's just our very mild warm-up for the hip flexors. Next part we're going to get into is a one-legged floor bow to really start to get deeper into our hip flexors, a little more isolated. So no wheel for right now. Come to the front of the mat. Lay down on your bellies. All right, now we're going to reach our left arm long and reach your left leg long. Okay, left fingertips are going to press into the mat, so you're steepling those left fingers. All right, now right leg bends. We're going to reach back with the right hand, grab the top of your right foot. So starting off in this one-legged bow. Okay, so as you grab this right heel or right foot, start to kick into the hand and feel the right shoulder pull back. Now the left side body's still on the ground. Fingers are on the ground, left toes are on the ground. Press into your left fingers, press into your left toes, and feel the left side body engage as you're kicking back with the right hand. Now start to lift the left leg, and then maybe reach the left fingers far around in front of you. But keep kicking back with the right leg. Nice. Everything lifts up. Maybe the gaze starts to lift over your left fingertips. Keep the right knee tucked in. Take 2 more breaths here. Big breath in. Left side body comes down first. And then slowly let the right side come down. Release the feet. Both arms in front. And you can rock a little side to side onto the belly. Let's find a breath. All right, same thing other side. Right fingertips stay down. Right toes stay down. Left leg bends. Reach back with the left hand. Grab the top of your left foot. All right, now pressing into your right fingertips. Press into the right toes. Feel the right side body engage. And then we'll start to kick into our left hand, bringing the left shoulder back. Nice, now lots of concentration here. Pressing through right side body, kicking and opening through left side. Now keep that left leg engaged, pressing back, and lift the right toes. And lift the right arm. Nice, everything's lifted off the mat now. Gaze starts to shift up and over the right fingertips, but pointing through the right toes. Still kicking back with the left hand. 3 breaths. Stay engaged in your lower back. 1 more breath. Right side comes down first. Keep the kick in the left on the inhale. And then on the exhale, let everything come down. Release the arms in front. Release the legs long. And then we'll rock the hips side to side. You can bring your forehead to the mat or gaze to a direction that feels best as you rock your hips. Big breath in. Exhale. All right, now pause in center. Press back to a child's pose. So getting some release of the tension we're creating into our lower backs. Rock the hip side to side. Take a deep breath in. Big exhale. All right, so next we're going to get pretty deep into our hip flexors. So let's spin around. The left shin is going to be against the wall as close as feels good for you. Okay, so we're going to bend the left knee. Place my left knee against the wall. Shin is moving up the wall. If this is really intense, the farther away your knee is from the wall, the less intense that's going to be. Okay, so bring in our left knee to the wall. Right leg comes forward. I'm going to slide the wheel underneath the right leg, just like our crescent moon poses that we've taken in this class before. So wheel behind the calf, wheel underneath the thigh. All right, now both hands are framing the foot. Now take some attention to your left hip flexor, or your left quad. All right, so that's where a lot of the intensity is going to happen here. Now, one hand at a time, if you feel okay, start to press yourself up to your right knee. Now, that's going to open a lot more in this hip flexor. Be okay with adjusting. So if this is screaming at you, come back down, move your knee away from the wall, and come back into it. All right, now you can stay right here where we're at. If you want to add a little bit more openness to that left hip flexor, you lift the arms above the head. All right, now readjust. Press into that left foot to engage your left hip. All right, now we have about 15 more seconds here. You can stay with the arms above the head, or if you want to use the wall, you can press your hands into the wall and then start to find a back bend here. Lift the gaze up. Maybe start to walk the fingers down towards that left foot, pressing into the wall, and find this nice deep back bend with this hip opener. Then we got 3 more breaths. Wherever you're at, find a little breath. And then slowly walk yourself up. Bring your hands to the mat. Keep the left knee where it's at. Lose the wheel. Walk your right foot off to the side and move into our lizard pose. So second set of lizard pose, just a little bit different variation. Releasing some intensity in that left hip flexor, but also keeping some of that intensity. breath in. Big exhale. All right. Make your way back up to your hands. Bring your right knee to the mat. And then we'll take a quick hero's pose, releasing that tension on the left side. If you have a lot of tension, ball up the fists. Give yourself a little shiatsu massage. Just pound out the legs. Move some stuff around. All right, and then we'll get into the other side. So come onto your hands and knees first. Right knee and shin are going to press against the wall this time, or as close to it as feels good for you. Left leg comes forward. Wheel underneath the left knee. Now remember, our sides of our body are very, very different. So this side might be a lot more tight or more open than the other side. So listen to your body first. Hands stay on the mat. Once you're feeling okay on that right side, press your hands into your left knee, come up, and then start to feel it out. Feel out that right side. Maybe pressing the right foot into the wall so you can feel that right hip start to engage and open more. Arms can lift above the head if you went there on the other side. Keeping the arms long. Breathe into that right hip. And then if you found your back bend on the other side, hands can just touch the wall as we press into the wall. Or if you want to find some depth, you can kind of inch your fingers down. Find a depth that feels good for you. I like to find my foot. Then again, press into the wall. Pressing away from the wall. And we'll find 3 breaths. As deep and as full as you can get them. One more breath. And as we release and rise up, hands come down to the mat. Let's move that wheel off to the side. Walk your left foot off to your left, and then we'll come down to our elbows for our version of our lizard pose. Breathe here. One more breath. All right, let's make our way back up to our hands. Slide that left knee onto the ground. Right knee comes in next to it. And then we'll sit back onto our knees again for our hero's pose. Again, any tension, ball up the fists, pound out the legs. All right. So a little bit of conditioning before we get into our peaker poses. So we're doing a lot of opening for the hip flexors. Want to create some strength back into your hip flexors. So we're going to take a version of, you can call it oscillating camel, or I like to call it matrix camel. Thanks, Timmery. So we're going to come into knees hip distance apart. For this first version, we're going to have our toes tucked underneath, so we have the balls of our feet to press into. All right? Now for our hands, the hands are going to be free, and the hands are going to be moving from side to side. All right? So I'm going to start on my left side so you guys can see where I'm moving to. So I'm pressing into the balls of my feet, pressing my hips forward. Now on the inhale, I'm going to slowly let my left hand come back, putting pressure into the balls of my feet, gently tap the ground, and then come forward. And then my right arm is going to come back, touch the ground, pressing into the balls of the feet, and then come forward. All right, so that's our matrix camel. Left side, tap. Feel the engagement of the legs as you pull forward. Right side, tap, come forward. 3 more on each side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, come forward. 2 more. Left side. Then come up. Right side. Then come up. Try not to use any momentum, just the strength of your legs. 1 more time. Left side. Come up. Right side. Come on up. And slowly let the hips come back towards your heels. Deep breath in. All right, so we're going to take one more version of camel. This time we're going to take it with flat feet. So with flat feet, we don't have the balls of the feet to help press ourselves up. It's more in the core strength and more in our hip flexor strength. Okay, so just another variation for you. Play around with it. Same basic concepts. We'll do about 5 on each side. All right, so toes are untucked, Feet are flat, pressing into the tops of your feet. Take an inhale, start to lift your left arm. And as we exhale, we come back. Tap, inhale, we lift. And exhale, right arm back. Tap, inhale, lift, left arm up. Exhale, left hand back. Inhale, we lift, right arm up. Exhale, right arm back. 3 more on each side. Come forward, left arm back. Come forward, right arm back. 2 more. Forward, left arm back. Forward, right arm back. 1 more time as we come forward. Left hand back and touch. Last time forward. And then a right hand comes back. Touch. Everything up on the inhale. And palms meet as we exhale. Sit back, hips to heels. Bring the knees together. And then we'll take an embryo pose. Let the torso rest on top of your legs. Arms down by the sides. Deep breath in. Big exhale. All right, next inhale, slowly rise up. Draw the shoulders into the ears on the inhale. And roll them down. All right, so our peak pose today, we're going to come into a double-footed camel. So bring your wheel to touch the wall. All right, and then we're going to bring both of our feet on top of the wheel. And my knees are hip distance apart. You can play with the width of the stance and also how far away you are from the wheel with your knees. All right, sometimes the farther you are away from the wheel, the more tuck you can get for your hips. So if you feel like you're just compressing into your lower back, try to walk the knees a little farther forward. All right, and we're going to be here for roughly a little over a minute, okay? So setting this up, knees are just outside of hip distance or hip distance apart. Now, from our camel pose, we start to push the chest forward, engage the glutes. We're going to lift the arms up, and then find the wall. So as you find the wall, press your fingertips into the wall, press the hips forward, feel that big openness in the front side. Now you can stay right there. Push the hips forward, or if you want, drop the head back. You can start to walk the hands down the wall, finding a depth that feels good for you into this final big back bend we're going to take. Now as you find depth, about 3 breaths, come out of it, come back into it, okay? So we got about another 2 sets we'll take here. So as you lift up, maybe your hands find the wall, and that's right where you're at. You take your 3 breaths there. Or if you can walk your hands a little farther down, maybe just inch walk your knuckles down. Take your 3 breaths there. And then slowly rise up. Take a good recovery breath in. Big exhale. And we'll take 1 more time. Inhale as we lift. And finding the wall. And finding your deepest back bend here. 3 breaths. Slowly rise. Whew. Take a moment here. Hands can come down to the mat as you release your feet from the wheel. And then we'll come into another pose for our counter pose. So knees together. Let the biceps come down by the legs. Let the forehead rest down towards the mat. Chest is resting on your thighs. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. And slowly rise up. All right, wheels off to the side. Done with the wheel for today. Last 2 things we're going to do is 1 more, create some compression in the lower back, and then the last poses will be releasing all that. So what we're going to do is take a pigeon pose facing the wall. All right, so for a traditional pigeon pose, we want to get this right shin as close to the wall as we can. Left leg reaches behind us. If you want to prop, you can prop up your left leg or your right hip with your block. If pigeon pose doesn't feel good, you can take your deer pose where you sit on your hips, left knee comes into the right sole of your foot, all right? So a little less intense on the hips, but modify, intensify as you need to, okay? So from our pigeon pose, we're facing the wall. We're pretty close to the wall. Then we're going to reach the arms up into this melting heart variation of our pigeon pose. So try to get as long as you can through the spine, even though we're creating some compression in the lower back. Finger walk the fingers up the wall, create traction with the arms, and then let the hips pull yourself back down, but keep the arms up the wall. 10 more seconds here. Holding your pigeon pose, one more breath. Now listen close to exactly where you're at with the lower body, and then just simply walk the hands down so your hands are right in front of the shoulder blades, still pressing into the wall. And then gently press into the wall and start to press your chest away from the wall. Push your left hip forward, really seating through the hips here. Try to sink the hips, pressing into the wall. Nice, take 2 more breaths here. Push your left hip forward. Big breath in. Big exhale. And then the hands come down. Let's roll to our right hip, move away from the wall. Jani Shavasana, keep that left leg extended. Right foot's going to move to the inner left thigh. Arms lift above the head on the inhale. Then as we exhale, we're going to take this yin version of this pose. So our Jani Shavasana yin version, mainly reversing a lot of that tension we've been creating into our backs. So let your head start to rest down towards your knee. Maybe bring your gaze in towards your navel. And feel your lower back start to release. Let's a couple more breaths here. And then slowly rise up on the inhale. And then we'll switch sides. So facing the wall again, we're going to move into that half pigeon pose. So it's about 1.5 minutes pigeon facing the wall. Left knee as close to the wall as you can get it. Right leg back, or if you took that deer variation, bring your right knee into the sole of the left foot, sitting on your left hip. All right, but from our half pigeon variation, or even if you took your deer pose, you can start to walk the hands up the wall once you get there. Now creating some traction with the fingers as you walk the hands up the wall. Right hip is going to start to push forward. Your gaze can shift up the wall, or your forehead can be in the wall. Sink deep in the hips. You got 3 more breaths here. All right, now keeping our half pigeon lower body, one hand at a time, walks down in front of our shoulders. And then as we gently press into the wall, press away from the wall, push your right hip forward. Keep your spine long. Find your breath. 2 more breaths here. And then bring the hands down to the ground first, support the body. As you start to roll to your left hip, move into that Jani Shavasana variation. Right leg extends, left foot slides to your inner thigh. Arms lift above the head on the inhale. And then we fold on the exhale. Not really grabbing for anything on the leg, just letting the hands frame this right foot. Gaze down towards the navel. And find your breath. Last breath. And then slowly rise up. Extend both legs, scoot to the middle of the mat, grab the shins, rock onto your backs. Nice, rock and roll side to side. Make some sacrum circles with the lower back, releasing any tension you may have created or built up into our back bend practice today. we'll just end with some twists here. So stopping with the knees in center. Arms expand out wide. Drop your knees to your left. Bring your gaze to your right. Find your breath here. Then next inhale, let's engage the core, come back to center. Then our last twist on the other side, drop the knees off to the right, gaze to your left or up towards the ceiling. Find some time here. And then change as we come back to center. Squeeze the knees, forehead towards your knees. Take one more breath in. Then exhale, release into your final Shavasana. Take up some space here. Let's stay here as long as you like. Take any other counter poses that you might need to. Thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure. Like the video if you like what we're doing. Subscribe. Leave comments. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, amazing day. Namaste.